What's up and welcome. Dreadlock Pac here, aka Big Brain, Warlock Main, and today we doing the build crafting thing. So, unless you've been sleeping under a pyramid ship, I'm pretty sure you've heard of Starfire Protocol by now, and you've probably got a build or two of your own. I've seen a couple of builds myself that has really showcased some next level Doctor Strange, Full Metal Alchemist anime type vibes. And today, I would just like to simply showcase and explain a few of the builds that I like to play with and enjoy using on the regular, whether it be casual farming, dungeon diving, nightfall runs, or raid LFGs. I hope that you can take something away from this video and add it to, if not your build kit, then maybe your overall memory bank for future builds. And so, with the intro ran out of the way, let's move on to the explanation. So, maybe you have been totally consumed by darkness, or maybe you've been like Big Daddy Rourke and sleeping under a pyramid ship for these past few weeks. Maybe you finally decided to sheath that butter knife, or put down that flaming meat tenderizer and come over to the lock side. Don these majestic robes. Well, don't worry about it, I got you. Sort of. Think of this like a Exodus crash course on what you need to get started, and along the way I'll lay down a couple of general tips from a big brain warlock main. So, obviously, to start with, you're going to need the exotic Starfire Protocol, but before we dive into the exotic loot, let's get all the other mandatory stuff out of the way. So, baseline, you're going to want to rock the fusion nades and an empowering rift. That's pretty much it as far as mandatory advice goes. The aspects and the fragments can be a combination of what satisfies your playstyle the most. You want to spec into Ignite? Go for it. You like to accumulate Scorch stacks? Spec away. Starfire Protocol honestly does most of the heavy lifting, leaving an abundant amount of choice and freedom in the aspect and fragment division. Now, the star of the show, who desperately needs an ornament, test please, functions like so. Fusion nades have an additional charge and a recharge from empowered weapon damage. Fusion nade kills grant rift energy. So, pretty straightforward. TLDR, fusion nades, you get a +1, you pop your rift, you get hits in your rift, you gain grenade energy. You get a grenade kill, you refill your empowering rift. Rinse, repeat, profit. Seasonal mods and other mods vary. Now, with the Exodus Crash Course tutorial out of the way, let's dive deeper into build crafting, or mod kits as I sometimes like to call them. Nerd! Okay, the first build I would like to introduce is called the Omni Lock, the lock of all trades, the master of some as it were. This build doesn't excel in any particular area, while simultaneously covering all areas quite efficiently. The mod kit of this build, which consists of Reaping Wellmaker, any Solar Wellmaker, Heavy Handed, Radiant Light, and Elemental Charge, supplements the overall functions of Starfire Protocol while taking advantage of the general loot. Reaping Wellmaker allows a Void Well to be generated after the next weapon final blow upon casting a Rift, which we will be doing effortlessly. This just adds an extra Void Elemental Well to the environment with no extra requirement from us. On our arms, we put any Solar Wellmaker, while also making them arc, allowing us to benefit from momentum transfer, which will grant us additional melee energy on grenade hits. Radiant Light can definitely be substituted for a more beneficial mod, however, the extra +20 in strength is nice little icing on the cake for me, and coupled with Heavy Handed, this gives us half of our charge back on use, which I'm confident you start to see the synergy in the theme of this build. Once we become charged with light, we regain half of our melee energy on use, and we regain even more melee energy when our grenade does damage. And by simply playing to the strengths of the Starfire Protocol, the downtime of all our abilities will be almost non-existent. You can elevate this further and benefit from a few mods in your class item. Things such as double outreach or things such as double bomber are also up for grabs. Things like classy restoration are also an option too if you've unlocked it that far in the season. I often like to leave these in any slots available if possible, simply because there's a ton of viable options, and depending on the activity you might want to swap them around. As a rule of thumb, always use my advice as like a blueprint or just background noise or info when constructing your own setups, and if you ever see a more viable option, just take it, man, please. Share it, and just remember, knowledge is powerful. So share it with your fellow guardians, please. Now, On to build number 2, the Starfire Survivor. With this build's mod kit, we utilize Reaping Wellmaker, Well of Tenacity, Well of Life, Font of Might, and Elemental Time Dilation to extend all of our elemental well effects. Another mod that we will be utilizing is a seasonal artifact mod, which is Flame Harvester. If you simply have not unlocked this mod yet, or if you have a better option that you want to run other than an exotic solar weapon, just sub it out with any solar well making generator. You won't be losing out on too much, but for this we're going to be taking advantage of the seasonal artifact mod simply because it is there and it opens up some otherwise unavailable build combinations. What Flame Harvester allows us to do is to generate solar elemental wells by landing rapid final blows, pretty much a double kill, with our solar exotic weapons, and also Drain is bugged at the moment to do the same thing. Vex, Mytho, Tommies, and Hard Lights are great optional pairings though with this artifact mod. Generally, I lean into mods like Elemental Ordnance, Reaping Wellmaker, and Overcharge Wellmaker for my in-game go-to well generators on my mod kits. The reason being is because they are one of the most reliable and consistent mods no matter what kind of difficulty I'm in. Flame Harvester is just below that same consistency threshold, however, it has another reason why it shines so well, and that reason is where it is located. Not only is it located in the class item slot, but it's also located in the general mod section, not the combat style section. The significance in this is that it allows our mod generator to be placed in otherwise an unavailable slot, and it frees up a slot in our otherwise limited 5 mod kit. This essentially gives us a +1 overall to our build crafting, and this build, the Starfire Survivor, is an example of what's possible when you can get useful mods in an unconventional slot. Kudos to Bungie, and please keep mods like this coming. Coming in at number 3, we have the War Monk of Life. Now we're going to take some of the info we learned from our previous builds and apply it to this one. To start, we have a Solar or Void Wellmaker. The path is yours. Following up on our initial choice, we went with 3 Well of Lives if we chose Solar, or alternatively, we went with 3 Well of Tenacities if we chose the Sugar Water Purple Wellmaker. Finally, we're gaining assistance from Elemental Time Dilation to extend our well effects significantly. In this demonstration, we theory crafted a solar route with Elemental Ordnance being our well generator. And so with 3 Well of Lives on and obtaining a solar well, this setup gives us with approximately 20 seconds of constant healing. 20 seconds, you say? Oh, well, you know, that's pretty swell. Well, if we were to use our friendly artifact mod this season and take it to the next level, how long do you guys speculate our healing would benefit? What do you say? Jump up to 23 seconds? 25? Maybe 20 seconds? Well, I took the liberty of demonstrating said combination, and we get a whole whopping 30 seconds of constant healing applied if we make use of the Flame Harvester coupled with 4 Elemental Wells of Life. And so we are on, and since we're still on the synergistic theme of the Grimoire, we might as well use Tommy's Matchbook to not only produce these solar wells, right, but also to showcase the effects of healing when paired with a self-calcinating perk of Tommy's Matchbook. Yeah, sorry. At first, I was just memeing in this setup, but as you see, this is an example of synergistic ingenuity that is actually viable, and super interested to see what kind of combinations you Guardians can come up with. So if you have any great suggestions, please, by all means, leave them down below for not only me, but other Guardians that would love to experiment. Up next, we have the Blessed Bombardier perk. Now, the setup here is pretty generic, although I rarely see this mod combination out in the wild. We have the traditional starting kit with Elemental Charge and Elemental Ordnance. Feel free to swap out whichever helps you the most. And then we have 3 Heal Thyself mod. In this instance, I left out the Solar Harvester perk, not because it doesn't work here, but it is honestly not needed, and also the loop is extremely fluid without it. Personally, I find better use out of the Bomber mods here, and they're definitely not required, but either way it goes, as long as you have the core mod kit applied, this build will function flawlessly. Now, the goal and the function of this build is to cover one of the exotic's biggest weaknesses, and that is healing. Essentially, once you become charged with light, what this build allows you to do is it heals you upon landing a grenade final blow. With you being basically required to run Empowering Rift and Fusion Grenades, there's an evident lack of things like Healing Rift or Healing Nades. This mod kit circumvents that and covers that weakness quite well, and is a favorite thing about this build setup is how seamless it flows with this exotic, and so that's pretty much Blessed Bombardier in all its glory. Coming in at build number 4, we have the Quasar Protocol, which consists of the following mods. You have a Solar Well Maker, a Font of Might, High Energy Fire, Elemental Charge, and Elemental Time Dilation. It goes without saying, but this build specializes in high damage output and top tier DPS. In this example, I use Vex, no buffs, hitting for a base of 2,447. Once we create and collect a Solar Elemental Well, we receive the benefits of both High Energy Fire and Font of Might, boosting our damage numbers to a nice little amount of 3,716. Now, I'm not sure if all the dust has settled on these buffs stacking with each other. However, at this moment, we can increase our numbers even more. Introduce Artifact Mod number 2, Radiant Orbs. A quick mod swap out, and now we can also become Radiant. With the Solar Helmet and Harmonic Siphon, we can execute this loop without jumping through extra hoops. So, with Font of Might, High Energy Fire, Radiant Buff, and Empowering Rift for good measure, our total shot number comes out to be 4,645 per shot, up from our initial 3,700. Literally overflowing with energy, hence the name Quasar Protocol. And here, in my opinion, we have saved the best for last, or at least my favorite build, and that is the Starfire Neutron. Now, this build setup is a little bit more meticulous than the others, but for a good reason. Now, for this, you're going to want to place these two mods, Elemental Charge and Reaping Wellmaker, on either your Bond or your Helmet, which both should also be Void Affinity. The reason being is because we will also equip and double down on the mods Dynamo on your Helmet and Distribution on your class item, which will fit perfectly, almost as if this combo was made for each other. More on this later. The rest of the mod kit consists of any well generator, preferably solar. You're going to need one supercharge to allow us to hold 4 charges of light, and you want to be able to use those charges, we're going to utilize the mod Energy Converter. Now, I love this mod kit, and I use this on every class almost every season. Just check out this gameplay while I continue to rant about this build. I believe I cast a total of 4 wells in the beginning section of this Master LFG Wellspring. In fact, I remember inspecting one of my fellow Guardians, and I remember seeing a Phoenix Protocol, but the simple fact that I was able to pop more supers than a Guardian who used a super specific exotic is a prime example of why this mod kit is one of my absolute favorites. Now, I'm pretty sure my Warlock main see exactly what's going on here, but nonetheless, let me break it down for anyone who doesn't like to read books. Because of the Distribution Dynamo loop, it's tied intrinsically to your class ability, so every time I cast my Rift by enemies, I gain a significant chunk of super energy. After that, I'm simply playing into the Starfire synergy, trying to achieve a grenade final blow so that I can re-trigger my loop, and because Starfire Protocol works so well with Solar 3.0, the amount of effort required is minimal. I can even regain some grenade energy by standing in an ally's Empowering Rift or a well, further expanding this synergy. You couple that with Energy Converter to profit off of all the elemental wells, I'm gaining about 50% of the bottom half of my super when tossing the grenade. So, speaking of synergy, I highly recommend using something like Cold Heart to buff your abilities. With the recent rework to its exotic perk, this thing is perfect. The new rework of Cold Heart allows you to produce ionic traces from time to time, and these traces, once collected, are like enhanced versions of Wellspring, granting you a significant amount of energy upon collection. And so I'm pretty sure you can tell why this is one of my favorite builds to use in the game. If only we had a Thresh weapon that was exotic to pair with it, but you know what? I can settle with this right here. So Hopefully you guys have had a lot of fun with this, or hopefully you've learned something new that you can add, or maybe you can teach me and a couple of other people something new. If you have any great comments or suggestions, please just drop them down below. You know, knowledge is powerful, but it's the application of knowledge that is true power. And yeah, without any further ado, if you like what you see, triple tap that like button for me. And if you enjoy the vibe, subscribe. This has been me in the present, talking to you from the past. I hope to catch you Guardians in the future. Adios. I'm Ghost.